All right, guys, welcome back to the Discovery Eden podcast. My name is Brandon,
And I'm Jonathan.
and we are on week 4.
Week 4.
Week
we
4?
haven't changed our outfits. We're definitely not recording.
It's totally not the same day.
No,
No,
we don't do that.
Nope, totally not.
But day 4 of creation, very exciting. But before we dive into that, we should probably do some prayer because that's important. We need it.
It's definitely need it. I mean, look at the last episode.
All right. It's my turn to pray.
We know this.
We know this. We checked, and we're definitely not recording immediately after the last episode. So I will pray, and we're gonna hope it's not super awkward, but it might be, and that's okay. Dear God, thank you, thank you for this time to gather together to talk about you, to talk about Scripture, and just kind of have this discussion on creation to bask in the glory of all that you've provided. Lord, I just pray that you lead this conversation in the direction that you want it to go. And that anything that's not from you, Lord, it falls to the ground and is forgotten. And we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Let's get in the bumper, and hopefully I can do it a little bit faster this time.
5, 4. Bonjour, as the French would say.
Buongiorno. I could try to butcher it.
DiGiorno. I could really go for a frozen pizza right now. Anyway, we're back.
We are back. And I just realized this in the notes after ending the last recording. Because I split technically the 7 days of creation into 8-week study.
This guy's crazy.
So last week was technically a 2-parter for what I had.
The Wombo combo.
The Wombo combo.
But we only covered half of it.
We only covered half. So we're going to cover the other half because I do think they do relate in some way, especially with what I have for the logic and scientific side with it as well. So, and this goes to, again, kind of the beauty of creation. So this goes with the specific patterns that you find in nature. And these can be scientifically or mathematically identified. So things like the Fibonacci sequence, logarithmic spirals, fractalization, waves, tessellations, or the overlapping of things. So for an example of like a logarithmic spiral, you have like ferns, like the fern little doodads.
The little doodads.
Or you find like inside of shells. Obviously, you have symmetry with different things. You see that again with shells and other things like leaves. Fractalization, you see that with like snowflakes.
Snowflakes are cool.
Waves, I shouldn't need to explain where you see waves. Tessellation, so things that overlap. So I think of like honeycomb, corn, pineapple.
Yeah.
Different things that just overlap like that. And they all serve a purpose. And that's just like a tip of the iceberg, if you will, for different patterns that you can find in nature. And that's just strictly those kind of things. That's not even including like the water cycle, different patterns like that. And we'll get to another pattern for this week as well. But for example, and we talked about plants technically last week because plants were part of the vegetation process that we're talking about in day 3 for the days of creation. So trees, they can grow just about anywhere. And they can get pretty tall or be really small.
Depends on the tree.
And some of them can get quite old. With one of them, like called the bristlecone pine can live up to 5,000 years.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, insane, insane. Or you think of the creativity of the cactus. Like what? Like
Just
how,
hanging out, you know.
like how do you come up with that? Or different things. Like it serves as protection for other animals, different things like that. Obviously, it hurts if you try to touch it really hard. Like you see those like little the stool cactuses or whatever you want to call those, like really small circular ones.
Yeah.
Imagine just popping a squat on that. That'll
My-
feel great.
We had a neighbor who she had a bunch of cactuses outside in her garden, and of course as little kids we would go over there, and we weren't smart enough to not touch the cactus because we were just kind of like, is it really gonna hurt? You know. It's like,
Apologies for you here if you were.
yeah, but I mean it's like, don't touch the cactus, don't touch the stove. Well, we're gonna do it anyways because why not? I gotta see what it feels like. Just reminded me of that. There's my offshoot for the week. There might be another one later. Who knows?
Let's go a little bit to the theological biblical discussion at least that I put in here. There was a really good question that I had in here. And maybe you guys can answer down below as well. And you're just gonna look at the notes, so you're just gonna know my answer to it. But
Nuh-uh.
so if you were to think of a plant that best encapsulates who God is, what plant comes to mind and why?
I'm looking through your notes to see what you said. I'm kidding. Well, it looks like you put olive branch, or palm fronds, which checks out.
Those are examples,
Yeah.
mind you.
Repeat the question one more time. Sorry.
If you were to think of a plant that best encapsulates who God is, what plant comes to mind?
Who God is, and I'm not going to use olive branch or palm fronds because that's
I wouldn't.
cheating.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Because those wouldn't be the first things that come to mind.
Really?
Olive branch maybe, but that's not the first thing that comes to mind.
I gotta rack my brain. Hold on.
Sassafras. No, I'm kidding.
Are you okay?
It can be anything.
Okay, any plant. It doesn't
Anything.
specifically have to be mentioned.
No, it doesn't have to be
Okay.
mentioned in the Bible.
See, that's what I was thinking of because my mind kind of goes,
That sycamore tree.
yeah, sycamore, mustard seed, stuff
Fig-
like that.
Fig tree.
Figs.
Olive.
I don't know why my mind goes to bamboo because it's just like unwavering and always steady. Like
Hey, that works.
that was like when you said it doesn't have to be mentioned in the Bible, like bamboo.
the bamboo. Panda.
So I'm gonna go with that because I think it's kind of unique. And I mean you hear all the proverbs, about bamboo and how it's steady, it's unwavering, it's strong, and I just, well, what is God? He's steady and unwavering, and he remains the same. So yes, I'm gonna go with bamboo because it's kind of a funny answer, but I also think it kind of fits. So we'll do that. It's definitely probably not the first thing anybody would have thought of, but I'm also tired, so maybe my brain's working in different ways today.
There's a lot of different things that come to mind for me. Like if you want to talk about biblical thing, I think burning bush.
Burning bush.
As something that's in the Bible at least. God speaks out of the burning bush.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, that's his presence. That's who God is, kind of thing. But if I were to go like an actual, what's symbolic of who God is, to me, oak tree.
Again, kind of.
And why I say oak is oaks are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could even say evergreen. just anything that's there because it's everywhere. It's always around you, always gonna be there.
Interesting. Yeah.
Just like God's everywhere in everything, and some of these and I keep it relatively generic because there's some species that can live in really niche places.
Yeah.
Like you look at the bristlecone pine, for example, where it can live up to like 5,000 years old, and can live in such extreme circumstances that you wouldn't think possible otherwise.
Right.
And that to me is just how God operates. He makes the impossible possible.
Hmm.
So that's mine. I know I didn't really give a concrete one answer kind of thing, but and
I
then
guess you could technically say all of them.
he created them all, so why not all? All of the above. C. All of the above.
But that was a joke, but I also kind of wasn't joking. I mean, technically.
Actually.
But yeah.
All right. Well, that's our brief little touch on the vegetative side, or however the heck you say
The
that.
vegetative side of creation.
Eat your veggies, kids. Oh, okay. So we'll go into day 4. And this, again, and we were talking about patterns earlier.
Mm-hmm.
This starts anew the pattern that you see even in Genesis 1, where it starts with light. When day 1, let there be light. Then it has land, then it has water, with the waters and the water and the water and the water,
and the vaults and the vaults.
And then you have land.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is going back, repeating the pattern. You go back to light again, light and darkness again, and then you'll see in the subsequent days of creation, the next day is water, next day land, different things like that. Like they follow a pattern. There's patterns that are evident in a lot of these things, which to me screams it's a creative process. Now, part of that is because of the fact that, oh, guess what, this is orally passed down, so it's going to be,
how do you get people to remember it?
Yeah. So patterns. People recognize those, but it doesn't take away from the fact that
there's something.
There are patterns in nature, and there's patterns in the way things operate.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll take a look at. So if you wanna read Genesis 1:14 through 19.
All right. And God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times, and days and years. And let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning, the 4th day.
Okay. What stands out?
So my joke answer is the fact that they use vault again, which is kind of a joke, but it's also like, yeah, that kind of stands out, like we're using that word again. But really the first thing that stands out is actually the word choice used when talking about the sun and the moon. And it's to govern. I find that a very interesting choice of words, like to rule.
I mean, you could look in different translations too, if that helps. I definitely make a point in that if you read it down in the document, but
I didn't get that far, so that was actually my own
good.
thought.
Good job.
There was something else. The other is, okay, there was 2 other things. again, the signs to mark sacred times and days and years. Just kind of interesting that that is even denoted. And again, that's probably, I don't really know where I'm going. I had a thought and I lost it. If it comes to me, I'll say it, but I can't remember. The third thing is the when talking about the two great lights, the sun is obviously described as the greater light, and then you've got the lesser light.
Mhm.
Which even, I mean, obviously you've got the whole size, aspect of the sun and the moon. The sun's obviously bigger, but from a cultural standpoint too, it's like, oh, light is greater than darkness. So the light that would govern the day is greater than the light that would govern the night. For me, that's just something that kind of sticks out as the whole, light versus darkness sort of thing. Like it I don't know why it stands out to me. I think it's a cultural thing. Maybe there's something deeper there. I don't know.
We'll
It's
talk about
interesting.
it. I can tell you that much.
But those are the things that stood out to me. Sacred times, the word choice. Again, the repeated use of the word vault, but that's kind of the least of the,
That's your joke answer.
yeah, that's my joke answer. It's the least of the things that stood out. But yes, those are the things that immediately popped out to me.
Yeah. For me, it would definitely be the greater light and lesser light.
Mhm.
With that, and we'll talk about it later, obviously. And then, like you said, the dates and times
Mhm.
reminds me of everybody was fascinated with the stars, and they use them for navigation. They use them for timing. They use it like for all the ancient people.
Well, and I even think about things like remembering different, holidays or cultural festivals at the time. Maybe
Like, how did
Yeah.
they keep track of time?
exactly.
That was their way of keeping track of time.
And that's where my train of thought was going.
Yeah.
I just that's the direction it was going before I lost it.
So, as we go into the second uh, iteration of light, obviously that's a whole new thing on its own.
Mhm.
We'll get to that, but we'll start again, like with logic and science and
I
reasoning.
actually have one this time.
Oh yeah,
I do.
you do.
Isn't that crazy?
Ah.
You don't even have to ask me a question this time. I already have it. Um, Again, it goes to the sunrise, sunset, the rotation of the earth. Again, it is a very basic, but that's where my mind immediately goes is the earth rotates. You've got sunrise, you've got sunset, a 24-hour period.
Now we have the days as we know the days.
Exactly. So that's where my mind immediately jumped from a logic, reasoning, science.
And when you think about a day, a day is a human concept.
Mhm.
It's something that we have thought of because the time is always running,
Mhm.
regardless. It doesn't keep track of it.
Yeah.
Dates, seasons, times, different things like that. They're human concepts, but they follow patterns.
Mhm.
Again, going back to these patterns, you have the four seasons. You have spring, summer,
and
fall,
and
winter. Everything follows a pattern.
Mhm.
Or if it doesn't follow a pattern because you're in like near the equator or whatever, then you have rainy seasons and dry seasons.
But it's still a
It
pattern.
still follows a pattern.
Mhm.
So patterns, very, very important. So let's talk about the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything
Mhm.
because, well, that's kind of what they're talking about.
The focus.
So, solar system.
Mhm.
Another pattern that comes to mind, life cycle of a star. There's two options. It can either blow up or implode.
Both are boom. Both mean boom.
So, yeah. So one can turn into a black hole and the other one a white dwarf. It's fine. Everything's fine. So, life cycle of a star. The one that would be probably more close to what our sun would probably be, I think would be the one that turns into a white dwarf. So starts off as a stellar nebula, goes into your average star size, whatever that means. Usually denoted by the color of light at which it emits, or at least whatever. I'm not gonna go into that. Then goes to a red giant, then goes to a planetary nebula, then a white dwarf. So implodes. Whereas the other one, it's a really massive star that comes out of a stellar nebula, so there's a lot of gas and everything together that makes up the star. Goes to a red supergiant, has a supernova, goes to a neutron star, or can go to a black hole when it really like explodes and then condenses really fast to make a black hole, or it just turns into a neutron star after it blew its top. Yeah. So that's one pattern you have with the sun, the moon, stars. Now you go to the moon. You have the impacts of what the moon does to the earth, especially when we talk about the water to the land, like we were kind of talking about in the last day of creation with the water and the land. So you have high and low tides. And there's processes that are affected by the moon that help govern different tides and things that happen on Earth's surface. And then you think of, well, Earth is at the perfect temperature and distance from the sun to sustain life. That's indisputable fact. Yeah. Because if it weren't, we wouldn't be here. And so many people are trying to find where's another planet or location that has the same possibility of maintaining life, like in the far reaches of the cosmos. And they're still looking. They find some places that are within that zone, but they don't find any, or they don't think there's any life in it. But that's obviously really hard to say from millions of light years away.
Yeah.
But I digress. And then I put in here blue shift and red shift in space and the expansion of the universe, which is the red shift and blue shift is stars either getting closer or further away from our point of view, which again ties into week 1 of boom, start of everything, Big Bang, and things constantly expanding. Right. So let's go to the theological biblical discussion. Like, let's go back to week 1 when light was created. But if there was light and God said it was good, why is there need for the stars and other celestial bodies if they too also emit light?
Well, and the interesting part is that the light is, they still call it day, and the distinction between day and night is given in the first day, but the moon and the stars and the sun aren't, given until day 4. So that is a huge and complex question. Repeat it for me one more time, so that I know
If there
exactly
was
what I'm
light
answering.
and God said it was good in the first day of creation, why is there any need for the stars and other celestial bodies if they too have the purpose of creating light? Think of it specifically for I think it's a harder question to answer if you think about it in terms of just the sun and moon. The stars to me make sense because it's for navigation. Navigation for telling time. Yeah.
The challenge for me right now is the whole day and night thing, because if they never mentioned day and night and it was just well, here's light, here's darkness. You could almost look at it in just a strictly spiritual sense.
Which is the argument I kind of posed for day one.
And yeah, right. But then again, there's that specification, and
Mhm.
that's where I'm.
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
I'm not
I'm going to be
not gonna lie.
completely honest. I'm a little stumped.
I'm
racking my brain. Like
in-
you said, the stars are easy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
When it gets to specific night and day
Yeah.
and all that kind of it gets tough.
you get into the weeds a little bit.
It does get into the weeds a little bit. And here's my take on it.
Okay.
So, obviously, yes, stars, everything, navigation purposes.
Easy peasy.
But again, this ties into the pattern and creativity that God has. So, and God, in His creativity, has all these days of creation planned out ahead of time. He knows how things are going to work. So He knew that He would eventually create humanity. And I'm saying this from a point of view that, foresight, not so great. Hindsight, possibly a little bit better.
If you're honest.
Where God knew He'd create humanity, and that the celestial bodies would help for navigation, telling time, but also to physically warm them and nurture the plants and the ecosystems He would then create. So the vegetation is there, but you can have vegetation and stuff that doesn't need the sun.
Sure.
You see that in the benthic zone and different things like that.
It exists. It's there.
Yeah. It's not photosynthesis at that point.
Mhm.
It's entirely different. But they get that from the earth. So that in and of itself already existed probably at that point.
Sure.
So what were the vegetations at that point? Well, they were feeding off the earth, not the sun. However, this is when photosynthesis and everything can happen. So life is more able to fully go into form. And things are starting to really come up and grow. So you're starting to get those sequoias. You're starting to get the complex life. Whereas some of the other things may be a little bit more simplistic.
Right.
But again, it's the building blocks.
Sure.
God,
Which, now that you say it, it would make sense, especially considering the complex life forms, the animals and the people.
they're yet to come.
They've yet to come. They're not there yet.
It's laying the groundwork.
Yeah. So
Setting all
that
the
actually
bases in
that
place.
actually okay, I see what you're saying there. I get it.
It's
yeah.
a creative process.
Yeah.
That's my stance on it. The reason you have these things happen in order,
It's the foresight of God.
Yeah. it's the creative process. First you need a base, you need a baseline, you need something there in the beginning to work and mold and shape. Just like you had a voidless form,
Sure.
like it was described early.
A
And
block
then
of clay.
or all
whatever.
that kind of stuff. And through the days of creation, he whittles it, trims it, makes it, molds it into more and more of what we can recognize and understand.
Mhm.
So that, in my opinion, is how I see it.
Sure.
It's the creative process in play. And then let's go to one that we both kind of picked up on. Look at the wording of greater and lesser light for the sun and the moon. Do you think this is a coincidence or is there a deeper meaning?
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you.
Like I said in the when I first mentioned that, obviously there is the whole conversation of the sun is bigger than the moon. Like that is the size thing is a given. So is it a coincidence?
And the fact that, you term the when they say govern.
Yeah. To me, look, yes, it comes back to the word choice. Not just govern, but greater and lesser. To me, if the word choice wasn't there, I'd say yeah, it's a coincidence, whatever. But because the word choice is so specific, I don't think it is. I don't think it is a coincidence. I think there's a reason that it was phrased that way. And again, when you look at it as like as a story that's being passed down as something like that, like, well, and again, this might just be my own cultural perspective, but I would imagine, well, what do you do to teach people? Oh, the light is good and the dark is bad. Light brings life, the darkness is cold and uninviting and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. There's a lot of different directions I think you could go with this, but no, I don't think it's a coincidence.
Yeah. So
at all.
and, like, for example, for me, I think it's greater light, lesser light.
Mm-hmm.
The greater light's in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
The lesser light's in the night. Quote unquote bad.
Yeah, not necessarily bad, but
when you and this is combining, I guess, day 1 versus day 4 with the spiritual side of things, with light and dark.
Yeah. And that's kind of where my mind goes, is
so what's the greater light? Well, that's God.
Mm-hmm.
What's the lesser light? Well, that's the enemy. That's Satan. Now, the interesting part of that is you look at it both scientifically and spiritually. All of God's creation reflects his character and creativity.
Which I was actually going to bring that up in the science section. We didn't get to it. The moon doesn't give off any light on its own. It's a reflection of the sun, which, again, you get into the spiritual side of that, and the enemy doesn't. There is no light to be given off.
And bear in mind, this is something that we know of with our own scientific understanding.
Yes, correct. Which, again, the people of the time wouldn't have necessarily.
But especially as you read it, and this is something that was written way earlier. Mm-hmm. As we read it now, that's a connection I make, where, well, the sun's rays are reflected on the surface of the moon, which then reflects light back to us.
Which makes it look like it's giving off light.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, just like all of God's creation, everything reflects that which God is.
Yeah.
God is in everything because he's had a hand in everything, including the enemy.
Well, and I think even another interesting point to that is, even in the darkness, there's still light. Even when night has fallen, there's still that presence of light. It's not completely gone. Which again, that gets into the spiritual conversation that I think is kind of interesting. But
yeah, and then even to that end, sounds like a foreshadowing of what would happen with what humanity is to God.
Yeah.
Or what at least humanity was intended to be, which is a reflection of who God is on earth, which is the light in the darkness. And obviously you have the greater light that governs the day. And obviously this jumps ahead a little bit into Genesis 2, Genesis 3, but you have the lesser light that governs the night. Because the lesser light has taken control of the earth at that point. And then the earth falls. The fall of humanity, sin, enters all of that stuff. But as it stands right now, everything is good. Nothing is in chaos. Everything is created as it was intended to be. And that continues that second rehash of the pattern that you see with days 1 through 3 through days 4 through 6. It starts with light, goes to the water, goes to land, and that's simplifying it. But of course, patterns.
Right.
You see a lot of this. And obviously some of these are put in this way to just for remembrance sake, because these were orally passed down after all. So, yes, things are going to be repeated that way because that's how you remember things. but you see repetition everywhere. And yet, how does that not remind us of God? That's my challenge. Just sit and stew in that for a bit. Anyway, anything else for this episode?
I don't think so. Trying to think if there was anything. Make sure.
I know this series will, or at least this little section of the series will probably be shorter videos because we focus on one day, and then move to the next day in the next episode. So, I mean, these were a small group guide, so they're not meant to be super long. It can be as long as, the conversation
Yeah.
goes.
Well, I feel like this episode was probably longer than the last week's.
I mean, it's still fairly short, but
there's a little bit more to talk about.
Obviously, I could talk so much more about things, but I am trying to stay silent. This is why I'm letting you do a lot of the talking, and I'm just reading what my notes say.
Well, I covered we covered the stuff that I wanted to talk about when we read the verse. So I'm satisfied with the conversation. I have nothing else to add.
And if you guys have anything else to add and your own observations, comment down below. We would love to read it. But I think that'll probably do it for this episode. So thank you again for watching, and we hope to
see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. So, see ya.